Dear participants, the directors, accountants, auditors, policymakers, and other people that are here, you are the custodians of our fiscal conscience. We have called you first the fiscal frontline, and now we call you the custodians of our fiscal conscience. It is with profound pleasure and great sense of urgency that I welcome you all to this pivotal executive training program. We are gathered here today with a shared mission, and that mission is to transform the management of our nation's resources. This program, a strategic collaboration between the Fiscal Responsibility Commission and the Africa Development Studies Center, ADSC, is more than just a training session. It is a command center for equipping our fiscal frontline with the digital tools needed to win the battle for transparency, accountability, and economic sustainability. So we've identified us here as the fiscal front line. The theme, leveraging digital innovation for enhanced fiscal governance and accountability in the public sector, is not merely an academic topic. It is a critical mandate for our time and the very core of our existence as a commission established by the Fiscal Responsibility Act of 2007. For too long, our public finance has been tethered to the fluctuations of a single commodity, like we all know, crude oil. This reliance, while historically significant, has exposed the paradox of a nation that has mastered digital innovation in oil exploration, while its fiscal systems lag, relying on analog and outdated tools. This has exposed our budgets to significant revenue leakages. This anachronism isn't limited to the oil and gas sector. It is a symptom of the public finance ecosystem as a whole. Our current reality, ladies and gentlemen, driven by the transparency goals of the Fiscal Responsibility Act, demands a more robust, verifiable, and transparent system, one that digital innovation is uniquely positioned to provide. That is why this training is so vital. It's a direct response to the call for a renewed national ethos of fiscal discipline.
We are going to be talking about the core pillars of fiscal oversight, transparency and accountability under the Fiscal Responsibility Act of 2007. Core pillars of fiscal oversight. Now, this is the outline of our presentation this morning. We are going to be looking at introduction, objective presentation, unbundling the concept of fiscal responsibility. It's important we know the background, the root of fiscal responsibility. Then we look at the core values of the Act, talking about the Fiscal Responsibility Act 2007. We have presented it to the FRA, so if you see FRA in the presentation, just know it's talking about the law, the Fiscal Responsibility Act 2007. Of course, we look at some salient fiscal oversight pillars. What has the Act provided for as sort of the pillars that will bring the intent of this law into effective manifestation in our public finance management space. And of course, the commission, that's the FRC now, Fiscal Responsibility Commission, that has the mandate to monitor and enforce the provisions of this Act, which will look at some of the powers and functions of the commission, and also how you can also be part of implementation of this Act. The Act is not intended to be enforced only by the commission itself, but by every person, every citizen of Nigeria, which the law has made a stakeholder in the enforcement process. We're going to look at that. And of course, we shall see some compliance issues and challenges, which I will urge us to kindly avail us your practical experience in how we can surmount some of these challenges. Because all the agencies here and those who are not here are our stakeholders in terms of implementing the provisions of this Act in those agencies. So if there are issues you have with applying the principles of the law in your agency that is affecting compliance or posing a challenge to compliance, please kindly avail us your own suggestion on how that can be overcome and how we can have deeper penetration of compliance with the Act. And that will lead us to suggesting way forward further reforms that we might have to.
In contract procedure, you have a board, either the procurement board or the procurement process team or the tendering board or the tendering, whatever you call it in the organizational setup. But what this means literally is, if you are the one, for example, heading that team, or you are a member of that team, what stepping aside means is that you absolve yourself from that team on that approval for that project, and then you won't participate. This is what it means. And then after that process has been approved, and then you have another process, then you can resume back to your position. This has been indicated. You have to step aside. You don't approve what you have interest in.
So you delegate the approval to somebody?
You delegate.
Is it allowed?
Yes. No, you delegate the approval, and the next person you share. Sorry?
I learned today about timely reportage. I learned about fiscal responsibility, accountability, and transparency. I personally have been striving towards all of this, and ignorance of the act or law does not exempt you. Now I'm aware, I will wish to even pass this on to my top management so that we are better equipped to do the needful in terms of law and acceptance of the law. So I think it's good. Digital tools are exceedingly important concerning day-to-day running, concerning implementation of policy. We can even have them as a library and repertoire of the relevant acts and laws. It can be used for monitoring of compliance. It can be used for reportage. If we have websites at public accounts committees, we don't even have to move physically to the place. I live in a rural place. It will be much easier for me to upload my documents if I am to report things on a quarterly basis to the relevant agencies so it will strengthen oversight, amongst other things. Yes, for government, they should enable the use of digitalization, not just for those in urban centers, but those of us in rural places, because there's no point dividing the country into the rural don't have and the urban have. Majority of Nigerians are in the rural places, so if we empower those there, we will probably have better compliance and uptake of input of electronic tools in governance and administration.
Well, this is actually a very, very important segment for this training and meant for executives and other, personnel for certain MDAs. And it's key in the sense that, it gives you an in-depth analysis and insight of budget transparency, accountability, and then implementation and also, performance auditing and the likes of it.
Great.
Absolutely right, because the world is going global and we need to go digital, and that's why this training is very important. And you can see from the theme, what we have is leveraging on digital innovation, on the fiscal responsibility, aspect of governance, and it's very important so as to know when to check, how to follow up budgets, how to monitor, how to ensure implementation, transparency, accountability, and the likes of it. Well, what I have for the government and also all the participants here today is that we are opportuned to have more in-depth analysis of what we should do as a government, and then what we should follow up on as to help our governments of the day to ensure transparency, accountability, and also ensure we enlightened, the general public on the spending of government from all sectors of life. And this is going to help the state governments to absolve state governors from wrongdoing and wrongful accusations.
I'm in this program at the instance of the Registrar Chief Executive, who have actually sent us to participate in this workshop. It's very, very significant to our department, we that are here, because it's an eye-opener. So far, so good. The things we have learned about accountability, about our transparency in fiscal discipline. We've learned a lot, because I can see that, like I said earlier, from the inception of the present registrar, Professor Ibrahim Wushishi, on whose instance we're here, I can see that there is serious improvement in accountability and discipline when it regards to finances, because even the impress that is given on to us, quarterly, they always insist on us, retiring it, and anything that is not clear to them, they query it, which means they're much interested in being, transparent and being accountable. So we are always accountable to every one kobo. That is, and what we have learned right now is that we must be accountable to every financial issues or financial disbursements, to our departments and even the state offices. So these are some of the things I have learned, and I believe if government will have the political will, to really enforce this regulation, and some of the regulations they have mentioned, if actually we can have a government that will enforce this regulation, just like the registrar is doing, I believe that the country will be better off, and the organizations and parastatals will actually be better off in terms of accountability and transparency in fiscal discipline. Functionality of digital tools can really enhance, accountability and transparency. Like the example he mentioned, when, they are supposed to meet, on budget issues, that it will be of importance if such can be sent, what they should discuss, and the contents of the budgets and whatever they have, if it can be sent to their emails and they open it, study it, not a situation where it's when you come to the meeting and then that is when you have access to the contents and things like that. So there will be not much input into that. But if they can, leverage technology, it will go a long way in making more, input into whatever.
Very important, because fiscal responsibility is at the heart of the solution to the nation's revenue problem, the nation's spending efficiency problem, issues of citizen ownership of both government itself and governance as the money side. So we are partnering with ADAC, a consulting firm, to hold this training for chief executives and other people whom we have called members of the fiscal front line. They are the people who need to understand the efforts that the government is making and the new introductions regarding the use of digital innovation in enhancing the fiscal infrastructure. People in the public sector are generally smart. Nigerians are smart. They are the same people who use mobile phones. They are the people who use apps. They use systems. They are on TikTok. They are on, and all that. They are on WhatsApp. They are on, if you don't mind my naming those brands. So now transitioning from private usage of digital facilities to the public one. The good news is that the head of service of the Federation has there's a policy on ground for the digitalization of government business, and people need the awareness as well as the tools and the capacity. So that's the bit that we are contributing with this program. I believe that people in the public service, they will catch up to it. There used to be a time that the country transited from manual typewriters and to computers. Today, everybody is using a laptop. It's not a big deal. I don't see any pushback in it. That's the way the world is evolving, and we are evolving with it. I just see some slowness. I see some people who want to do things the way they used to do. I see some being genuinely concerned about security, some others being concerned about efficiency. I also see some, we've all seen it throughout history, some who ordinarily will not move with the flow. Maybe because of what they were benefiting from the old system or the security they had with the old system, or the laziness not to move with the new system. But that's no big deal. Those who don't move will be moved. Yeah, history will move them. Key take home. I was a bit surprised when I tried to find out the knowledge level and information level of the participants. To my surprise, many of them are not very aware of things that are going on in the digital innovation space. So it's a good thing. They are going away with one, information, two, an understanding of the intersection between fiscal innovation and fiscal responsibility. That's key. So they take it home And who knows how far they will go from there. But as they say, once upon a time begins a story. It's an introduction. They know what's going on. Meanwhile, there's a December 25 deadline for all MDAs to transition to digitalization. Yet this August, and we are speaking to many people who are probably scratching their head over it. So it's a huge achievement. It's a huge thing they're going back home with by way of sensitization, by way of understanding as well. It's not mine, it's for the head of service to determine. I think it's December 2025. It's for the responsibility owners to determine. But if you ask me as a guy passing on the street, I will think that many MDAs will need a little kick, to move into that. It's actually not a little thing. It's moving all your files away. At the beginning, using hybrid files and digital, getting into a new area. And new areas are usually not my mind, but new areas happen. Yeah. Hey, I'm Chris Wadoka. I'm the special advisor to the executive chairman of the Fiscal Responsibility Commission in Abuja. I also pride myself or introduce myself privately as the economics explainer. I'm the roadside economist. And I say to you, keep watching Soup News.
Well, this particular high-level executive program being done jointly by the Fiscal Responsibility Commission and the African Development Studies Center, ADSC, is a continuation of our very robust collaboration and the MOU signed with the ADSC. And here we are going to be laying again and again the foundations of the pillars, the core pillars of fiscal responsibility, and how digital innovations can help to promote those values of fiscal responsibility. And so that is really what we'll be talking about over the next 3 days. And there'll be several presentations. We've had one today that talks about the core values of fiscal responsibility, the issues around transparency, accountability, responsibility, and some of the measures that the government has taken pursuant to the Fiscal Responsibility Act to promote and to secure greater transparency and accountability in the public finance management system. So we have looked through the laws and its provisions. We have seen some of the practical steps taken by government under the Open Government Partnership, for instance. We mentioned the issue about the server where government expenditure is supposed to be uploaded every day. That's opentreasury.gov.ng and so on. And in the course of the program, other digital innovations that the government has also put in place will be highlighted here. I'm happy with the attendance, the diversity of officials who came from different sectors, health sector, finance sector, even from the military and all that. The point was made and emphasized that issues about fiscal responsibility is something that every citizen must take an interest in, because it concerns all of us. All the effort that will make government more responsive to the aspirations of the citizens, make government more accountable, more prudent in the way government expenditure is conducted, are all in the interest of the masses, on the interest of the citizens. Having great value for money, having citizens being engaged and being sensitized to ask relevant questions, to hold government accountable is very important, particularly in these days where things are not really very rosy for anybody. So the little resources available must be put to maximum use for the benefit of the people. And that is at the core of the message of fiscal responsibility. The effort to digitalize the public sector has been on for a long time. And, having a deadline is good. But, the challenge about, getting into the digital, migrating to the digital space is, of course, the teething problems that you have initially, things about sometimes downtimes. Technology develops almost every day. And so what technology you have now may not be the same thing in the next few months. So you need to upgrade from time to time. And if you are not upgrading, you are left behind and you start having issues. So even in the electoral system, in our public finance system, in our governance system, digitalization is at the core. This generation believes so much in social media and all those things. Social media is another important aspect of governance. People see things going wrong, they video it and they make their content about it, upload it, and people see it and people respond. So it's all part of it. Government has to key in. It makes for more efficiency, more faster turnaround times in terms of response to certain issues from the government. And I mentioned an issue that came up that I watched in the morning on telly about a certain young man who videoed a bridge that had gone bad, and the gridlock it caused when a truck fell on the bridge, and how within 24 hours the Minister for Works, whose attention was drawn to that clip, responded, sent people to go there and fix it, and then, answer the young man to show that government is responsive. That's part of what we're talking about, introducing digital tools to have a feedback mechanisms that make citizens have access to government, and government get to know what citizens are feeling and what is happening, and taking proper prompt action to remedy situations. That is how government will work in the interest of the citizens, and that's what fiscal responsibility is also all about. Yes, the message is very clear. Everyone is a part of the movement for greater transparency, greater accountability, and more fiscal responsibility in our governance space. Section 51 of the Fiscal Responsibility Act, like we mentioned earlier, makes it very clear that any citizen, any person in the country, any citizen of the country can approach a federal high court and seek for a prerogative order, to compel officials of government to do the right thing they're supposed to do based on the provisions of the law, without having to show any special interest or local standing. And that means clearly that the intention of the makers of that act, of that law, is to make everybody participants in the enforcement of it for the benefit of the public, in the public interest. So we hope that the participants at this particular workshop and those that will be watching us or that will see what's going on will also key into this development at every level, be it at the local level, the state level, at the federal level. Citizens must be awake to the responsibility to hold government to account. Government has a duty to be transparent and accountable to the citizens in which trust they control the resources of state. And so everyone is part of it. The officials must know their duties and their responsibilities, and what might happen if they do not live up to or comply with fiscal rules. And the citizens should also hold the officials of government to account. That is going to be a symbiotic relationship. So that's what we're promoting in this particular workshop. Charles Abana from Fiscal Responsibility Commission. Keep watching Zouk News TV.